Any thanks. Well, roads, they're a big concern today as kids are out of school another day, work's canceled maybe, and cabin fever really starting to set in. 2 News Oklahoma's Emma Burt, she's out on the Rain Tech Roofing Weather Chaser monitoring those road conditions for us this afternoon. Emma, how's it looking out there? Any slipping, sliding?
Well, thankfully, Corey, it has not been too bad. We actually are on 244 now. We were just on I-44 heading towards Catoosa, and the roads were completely clear. There were no problems whatsoever. Actually, we were able to go at the normal rate of speed that you usually would on this normal day when it's not treacherous like it was before. I'll turn the camera around so you can see. As you can see, not anything like it was this morning. We were out on the road. You can actually see both lanes. You can see the line, so you know where we're going. But still, I would highly suggest people to take their time. Don't need a rush because there is ice still. Like, don't be fooled. Take your time. Don't rush. Just be safe. You know, the normal things that people should do in times like this. But for right now, I'll toss it back to Corey at the studio.
All right, Emma, be careful out there. Thank you. I-44 and its surrounding towns hit hard by this storm. We're going to take a look at ODOT traffic cams right now, headed east on I-44. This is near 165th and Admiral. I-44 is open today. Teams have been working long shifts clearing and treating those roads. We do have teams along the interstate in Veneta and Claremore listening to locals and tracking the aftermath of this storm. As daylight broke, we're getting a real visual for just how much snow accumulated in the different communities that we've been covering. Today's Oklahoma has been holding down the fort. Steph mentioned there in Veneta for us. So Steph, we see you're by the highway again. How are things looking? What do you see?
Yeah, Corey, well, we started our stint here in Veneta this time yesterday here at the Will Rogers Archway just off I-44. So wanted to wrap up our stay here as well, taking a look out at the highways. A lot more traffic out on the roadways today, but still pretty calm. We're really only seeing semis and plows out. And if drivers are out on the roadways, they're taking it slow. So we're mainly seeing those semis. Like I said, drivers definitely moving quicker than they were yesterday. That right lane from our vantage point looking to be your safest option if you are traveling through the road. But people don't appear to be having any real issues navigating a snow-packed highway. Switching to in-town, drivers still taking it slow. Plows got a decent amount of the snow off the ground and pushed into parking lots. But now something we have to show. As we drove through the Veneta side streets, we came up on the water tower out by the school district, and check out these icicles. It's still frigid, so I wouldn't say that they're melting, but some were starting to take the plunge down to the ground. So glad that's fenced off from the road, but that we can take a look at it. So just continuing to monitor the roads. If you are out, make sure you're going slow. Roads are still packed with ice, so it continues to be cold. Roads are still an issue. But now checking in with 2 News Oklahoma's Clifton Haskin, who has been out in Claremore for us. Clifton, how are things looking now with the sun out?
Well, Steph, with the sun out, things are actually looking pretty good. It's still very, very cold, still pretty windy, but we got some good news. I can actually see the road. This is the first time I have been out here on TV since yesterday that I've been able to see the road. If you look over to my right over here, I'm finally looking at a road. I've seen cars kind of picking up in speed, but they're still taking their time. It is still, like you just saw that car go by there, it is still pretty slick out here in some spots. But for comparison, take a look at how things look around the city. Still a layer of ice and snow on the roads, but I've seen crews out on, they have been on top of it. I saw about 5 snow plows go through in the last couple of hours, and city leaders are still asking everyone to stay inside. So if you don't have to leave, I would still not go out. These roads are still a little slick and a little bit dangerous. So if you are out, please slow down. Back to you, Corey.
Clifton, thank you. Didn't think I'd be so happy to see gravel on a roadway. Well, 2 News also has a team stationed in Bartlesville. Our 2 News Oklahoma Braden Bates has been there since the snow started coming down on Tuesday. And during that time, he saw the community coming together, exemplifying the true Oklahoma standard.
We often talk about neighbors helping neighbors, and here in Bartlesville, it's no different. Be the Light mission is providing warmth to those when warmth matters most.
Well, we've seen the danger. We have a guy still in there that's dealing with frostbite.
With extreme cold temperatures, people's health is top of mind. For Keith and Christy McPhail, it's why their doors open.
Also, we've done warming shelters for the last 5 years. So this is our 15th warming shelter that we've done for the community.
But they don't only provide cots and crates for pets. They also make sure each person gets food and a fresh set of clothes. Relying on donations, they say the community's been more than generous.
We don't really think of it as helping them. The community helps them. We help each other. And that's just kind of what it's all about.
We don't want to give a hand out. We want to give a hand up.
The McVeighl's tell me they're working to expand the mission, not only providing help today, but resources for the days to come.
Anyway, our doors are open all the time, and we welcome anybody in here.
The warming shelter will stay open through Saturday morning. In Bartlesville, Braden Bates, 2 News, Oklahoma.
Emergency services are still going strong in the cold weather. After the break, see how EMSA is prepared during these extremely cold temperatures and what extra safety measures they have in place.
Your first forecast, sponsored by Burgraff Disaster Restoration.
Welcome back. Well, the end is not here yet. Weather that just makes you kind of want to stay at home is in the forecast the next few days. It was just so cold. Obviously, meteorologist Annie Brown joining me now with a look at what we can expect in the days ahead. I mean, I just want to skip to Sunday.
I think we all do. Just hibernate at home. That's the safest place. That's the best place to be right now. And we got out early this morning. I have not gotten back out on the roads. But starting to hear some improvements.
Good. We need some good news.
Yes, neighborhoods are still icy and dicey. That's what we're calling it. Hey, snowfall totals. A lot of people question what we were looking at yesterday. I want to show you some of these numbers that I plucked out. Independence, Kansas, 6.5. Collinsville, about 5 inches. Miami, 5 inches. Tulsa, 2.7. It was interesting. Tulsa, we had higher amounts, roughly about 4 inches up towards Owasso, but then down towards Bixby area is about 2 inches, even towards Jinx. Muskogee 1.2. Those flakes are really fine, really gritty as we were seeing those coming down yesterday. On top of that, we had a lot of wind, and that wind is still with us. Those temperatures have dropped off quite a bit. So we're not looking at snow anymore. We're now talking about this Arctic air mass that is with us. Anywhere between 20 to 10 degrees colder with those feels like temperatures below zero up until noon tomorrow, folks. This is going to create a lot of concern for frostbite, hypothermia. If you've been out in this, you already know what I'm talking about. If you haven't been out in it, stay indoors. We're talking about frostbite that can occur once they peak around 20 below zero in as little as 15 minutes. Right now, we're staying at 4 below zero here for Tulsa, 2 below zero over to Pryor, 7 below zero over towards Miami. A little bit of sun trying to peek out right now, 11 degrees here for Tulsa. Those north winds, we can't seem to shake them. Dew point at 1. So it's not only bone chilling cold, it's just flat raw out there at this time. It's a great time to use that humidifier in the house if you have one. Looking at that humidity right now to 64%, but I do anticipate that to drop. As we look at these temperatures, we're looking at 11 over to Pryor, 10 to Nowata, 10 over to Copan, 14 down towards McAllister at this time. Feels like temperatures, again, staying below zero. In fact, we're only going to get to a feels like of zero by about 3 to 5 o'clock. If we're lucky enough, maybe 1 degree, but that's it. We're not climbing much higher than that. Actual temperature readings around 14 to maybe 15 degrees by this afternoon. I went ahead and bumped us up to 15, our average. Oh, this is going to hurt. 55 for this time of the year. So obviously we are sufficiently off of that average. 13 up towards Bartlesville, 21 down towards McAllister, 20 over towards Stigler. For tonight, sunset at 6:09. We're going to keep some cloud coverage around. Clear skies through the evening with those winds. You know what that means. Our temperatures will tank through the overnight. So we're looking at 1 below zero for that actual temperature reading tomorrow morning. So I am anticipating an even colder start in terms of those temperatures. We hit a temperature low of 2 this morning. Tomorrow morning, we're looking at falling below zero all the way to about 1. So that's going to create more concern, especially if you're getting out and about, and we're waiting to hear on some schools right now. Record morning low temperatures. If we do forecast at 1 below zero, we'd easily break the record of 9 well over 100 years ago. So some impressive record-breaking low temperatures, just showing you how cold it is. Friday's overnight low, early morning is going to be about 0, and that record was 7 set back in 1939. So some very cold weather continuing to impact us. Good news, though, by the weekend, we're talking 40s and then 50s, and then by Monday, we're going to continue to go up from there. We're looking at highs by Monday around those upper 60s. We're going to keep them around at least for 2 days. But then we're going to drop down to those 50s. All in all, no complaints with that after what we just went through. I think we're happy to see even those 40s, anything above freezing at this point.
An award-winning forecast. Thanks, Annie. Well, some paramedics say they have been responding to emergency calls at 3 times the normal rate. As of 7:30 last night, paramedics and EMTs have responded to 7 cold exposure calls and have taken 3 patients to Tulsa hospitals. Crews also responded to 39 traffic accidents, taking 16 patients to the hospital. And the Tulsa Fire Department continues to respond to lots of emergency calls. Over the last 24 hours, crews have been out helping residents. They've responded to 42 motor vehicle collisions from the icy roads, 7 cold exposure incidents, 3 carbon monoxide alarms, and 4 fires. They've also taken 15 individuals to warming shelters. Our team coverage isn't over yet. We're still keeping a close eye on those road conditions for you. After the break, we'll check in with our Emma Birch out across the metro. Stay with us. Welcome back. We're taking you back on the road for a look at those conditions this afternoon. 2 News Oklahoma's Emma Birch. She's riding around in our Rain Tech Roofing Weather Chaser. Emma, what are you seeing? You got your shades on.
Yeah, I will say, Corey, the sunshine, it is out, which is a really good deal because hopefully it'll melt some of the snow, but it's also blinding because it's reflecting off of the snow. So if you have sunglasses and you have to go drive, highly suggest to wear them. Now, the good news is that you can actually see the road. This is a complete 180 than it was this morning. We were out on these roadways. We couldn't even see the lines. We didn't know if we were in a lane or not in a lane. And now that we know for sure, we actually just kind of whipped around. We're northbound on 75. Now we're southbound on 75. I will say the on and off ramps are still heavily covered with snow and ice. So be just cautious if you have to get on or off a ramp to take your time. No need to speed. And when you get on the highways, even though they're clear, there will be some slick spots still. So just take your time on the roadways. But for now, I'll just toss it back to you in the studio, Corey.
Some great advice. Thanks, Emma. Over in Jenks, police are asking residents to stay home if they can. They said the chemical agent that is placed on the roads to help melt the ice is not working because the temperatures, well, they're just too cold. Some roads are impassable due to heavy ice coverage. Police say majority of businesses closed. First responders will still be out answering calls as normal. Also, Metrolink has canceled all routes today due to weather. The Denver Avenue station is also closed and will not host as a warming station. It's back to 12-hour shifts for maintenance and plow workers on Green Country highways and freeways. The Department of Transportation says it's treating this week's weather as its own monster. That means plows might be more common in stretches of highways than sand or salt trucks and vice versa. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It is 12:24 this afternoon, and the town of Delaware and Newata County is asking neighbors to conserve water today, calling the situation serious. Town leaders say they're aware residents need to have faucets running so pipes don't freeze. In a Facebook post, they say, quote, please just have one valve open and dripping in your house. It has drained the water tower, and we might not recover from this. We are in serious danger of not having water at all. Please, please conserve. City officials also say that bulk water sales are discontinued until further notice. After the break, we're going to check in with our crews all across Green Country. 2 News is in Claremore, Veneta, and beyond. We've got it all covered for you.
We're also covering some cold weather warnings in the area as well. We'll talk about when this will expire and what you can anticipate, again, as we head closer to the weekend.
You're watching 2 News Oklahoma.
We are boots on the ground across the area, tracking what was left behind after inches of snowfall yesterday. We are taking you out to Veneta, Claremore, Bartlesville, while we have teams tracking road conditions in the Tulsa metro. But first, let's get a look at the science of all this. Our 2 News weather team has been working long days tracking this storm and what is to come. We'll set things over to meteorologist Annie Brown. She's got a look at the latest forecast. Hey, Annie.
Yeah, Corey, we're talking about 110 hours of temperatures below freezing. Now, this started on Monday. It's only Wednesday. We've been talking about that since early this morning. At 8:30 p.m. Monday, we dropped below freezing. We will be rising above freezing finally on Saturday at 10:30 a.m. So Julie Chen and I will be here counting it down for you Saturday morning as we do get closer to those temperatures finally climbing above freezing. But for now, we are stuck in the Arctic tundra. We do have cold weather warnings across the area. Frostbite can occur in as little as 15 to 20 minutes to any exposed skin. So if you are having to get out, make sure you have multiple layers. Make sure that your hands are covered, your face is covered. whatever you do to keep that from developing. This is in the forecast until noon tomorrow. Again, this is a cold weather warning. Wind chill values will continue to trend about 10 to 20 below zero. Highs for today around 15. On top of that, we're tracking the potential for record-breaking temperatures as we do look towards your high temperature Wednesday today, likely to break that. 24 was a record set back in 1929. But look at this, even for Thursday, likely to break that record and then potentially tying a record cold as we look at Friday. Corey?
Annie, thank you. We now head north to Claremore, where 2 News Oklahoma's Clifton Haskin has been since yesterday. And Clifton, we got really excited when we talked to you last. We never thought we would be so happy to see gravel on a roadway.
Yes, we can finally see the road here in Claremore since I've been here yesterday. I've seen snowplows out here going over and over this road. And if you look over here to my right, we have finally a clear road. Still a lot of slush along the road. I've seen a lot of snowplows really pushing the snow and ice to the sides. But for comparison, here's how things looked just a few hours ago around the city. The roads still had a thick layer of ice but the crews have been out here non-stop. There are still a lot of slick spots, but I would still recommend to stay inside. It's still a little slick out here, but I am going to toss this over to 2 News' Steph Mansion in Veneta. Steph, how are things looking where you are?
Well, Clifton, it is cold. We definitely are still chilly here in Veneta. The good news, though, is we got the snow, but it wasn't quite as much as we thought. We kind of measured early this morning, late last night. We were at about 4 inches. So we were in that 4 to 8 inch zone. Could have gotten a lot more, but that doesn't mean this storm was without its impacts. There is no school in Veneta. We're on day 6 of no school here in Veneta for teachers and students. No city hall, no library, no courthouse. So a lot of places and businesses closing up and making sure they're enjoying the snow day and staying safe. But we are at the Will Rogers Archway right off of I-44, continuing to monitor the roadways. We started here yesterday about this time, and it's a little bit of a different scene, I would say. We didn't have too many cars out yesterday, and what we were seeing was mostly those semis, mostly those plows. That's kind of the same situation here, but cars are definitely traveling a bit faster. And as they are going through, the same situation again is that right lane is the easiest to navigate, just with more cars going over the roadways. But if you are going out, I think a lot of people are driving faster. I get we want to get where we want to go, but doesn't mean that the roads are any safer. It's still cold. Nothing's really melted off. So making sure that you're traveling safely and bundling up, because it is still miserable out here. The wind is starting to pick up a little bit, so just going to continue to bundle up and jump back in our warm car, but I'll send it back to Corey Duke in the studio for now.
Oh, you hurry and do that. Thank you so much, Steph. Well, 2 News Oklahoma's Emma Birch. She's still out there on those roadways. She's been tracking those conditions for us all afternoon. The good news is that the sun has finally come out a little bit there. Emma, are there a lot of drivers out there now?
Well, Corey, I will say there were when we were on the highway. We're actually now downtown, and there are no drivers, and that's a good thing, because if you can see on my camera, it is completely snow-packed still. Like, there is still snow cover, completely different than it is on the highways. We can't see the lines. I will say we were turning on a street, and we started to slide a little bit, so the roads here in downtown are still probably not the best to drive on, but luckily not seeing there's one driver right there, but that's the only person I've seen out on these roads here downtown so far, which is a good sign, because they are still not in the best shape to drive in. But we will keep driving around, seeing how these road conditions are for you. But if you don't have to get out, stay home. I'll toss it back to you in the studio, Corey.
You know what? If you have a snow day, you might as well take it. Thanks, Emma. Over in Jenks, police are asking residents to stay home if they can. They say the chemical agent that's placed on the roads to help melt the ice, it's not working because the temperatures are just too cold. Some roads are impassable because of heavy ice coverage. And police say majority of businesses are closed. First responders will still be out answering calls as normal. And then Metrolink has canceled all routes today because of weather. The Denver Avenue station's also closed, and it will not host as a warming station. And it's back to 12-hour shifts for maintenance and plow workers on Green Country highways and freeways. The Department of Transportation says it's treating this week's weather as its own monster. That means plows might be more common in some stretches of highways than sand or salt trucks, and vice versa. Spokesman TJ Gerlach says that staffing is steady and confidence is high, all things considered.
But overall, we're prepared. We've been prepared all since the fall. Obviously, the past couple of weeks we've had a couple of storms to deal with, and this one's just another storm. And we're just going to deal with it like we need to.
Spokesman also told TN News Oklahoma closing highways and interstates is the last resort, but usually just happens if OHP troopers requested. That said, he says that drivers should only brave those conditions, of course, if they have to at their own risk.